Okay, here we are in our third unit. We're going to be talking about inequalities. And today we're just going to do an introduction to inequalities. So let's start with a possible real-life situation. You've met that special someone and you've been dating for a month or 2 months, and you'd like to get something for your anniversary. So your mom, generous as she is, gives you her credit card and says that you can go shopping for a birthday present for your girlfriend or boyfriend. But she says you can spend no more than $125. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video and record on your paper 5 amounts that you could spend. So you can spend no more than $125. Write down 5 possible amounts that you could spend. Okay, so as long as your amounts were under $125 or $125, you were correct. Okay, so you saw an awesome cell phone that you would really like to buy, and it was priced at $130. Could you buy it? Pause the video and answer that question. Well, the answer is no, you could not buy it because $130 is more than $125, which is the price limit that your mom set. Okay, so what's the maximum amount that you could spend on the present and still be following your mom's instructions? Well, she said no more than $125, so you could spend $125. That's the maximum amount you could spend. Is there just one correct amount that you could spend? No, you could spend any amount that was $125 or under. Okay, so what are some other ways that we can say this besides no more than $125? Don't worry about writing these down now because we're going to write them down a little bit later on. Okay, so you could say no more than $125 like your mom said. We could also say less than or equal to $125. We could say up to $125, or we could say a maximum of $125. All of those things mean spend $125 or less. Now let's write this using inequality symbols. So we could write x is less than or equal to 125. We could also write it as 125 is greater than or equal to x. Both of these mean the same thing. X is less than or equal to 125 is the same as 125 is greater than or equal to x. Notice when we changed the position of the x and the 125, x and 125 changed positions, we also changed the direction of the inequality sign. Okay, so let's do a second situation. This time your mom told you that you couldn't be a cheapskate, you had to spend at least $125 on the present. So now write down 4 possibilities of what you could spend. Okay, as long as the numbers that you wrote were $125 or more, you are correct. So what's the least you could spend on the present and still be following your mom's instructions? Well, the least you could spend is $125 because she told you to spend at least $125. So that means you have to spend that or more. Okay, what's the most you could spend on the present and still be following your mom's instructions? Well, there is no limit except for whatever the limit is on the credit card. You could spend $150, you could spend $300, you could spend $1,000, as long as you went $125 or over. So what are some other words that we could use that mean the same as at least? We could say greater than or equal to 125. We could say 125 or more. We could also say a minimum of 125. Let's write this as an inequality. We could write it as x is greater than or equal to 125. That would be the same as saying 125 is less than or equal to x. Notice again that when I changed the place of the 125 and the x, I also changed the direction of my inequality sign. Okay, so inequality symbols allow us to represent situations that have a range or a variety of solutions. When we were solving equations, there was only one solution to the equation. We would get one number as our answer. Now in inequalities, the situation can have a variety of different solutions. In other words, there is more than one solution. And we use inequalities instead of an equal sign. And the solution to an inequality is going to be any value that makes the inequality true. Okay, so let's fill in our table with some words that mean each of these inequality symbols. So this symbol here means less than or smaller than. This symbol here can mean less than or equal to. We could also say maximum of, up to, no more than, or at most. All of these phrases here mean the same as less than or equal to. Okay, this symbol is greater than or bigger than. There are a variety of words that can represent this symbol here. Greater than or equal to, minimum of, at least, no less than, so all four of these phrases here mean greater than or equal to. Okay, let's try some examples. So you can receive a maximum of 3 absences to exempt the final exam. Fill in the blanks with three possibilities for the number of absences you could have and still take the final exam. Then write an inequality. Okay, your inequality would be A is less than or equal to 3, and you could have any numbers in these blanks as long as they were 3 and under. So you could have had 0, 1, 2, or 3 in those blanks. Okay, second example. Your semester average for the class needs to be at least an 80 to exempt the final exam. So write 3 possible values for your semester average, and then write an inequality. So at least means it has to be, at least 80 means it has to be 80 or more. So we would write S is greater than or equal to 80. So your numbers in these blanks could have been any numbers 80 or above. Okay, let's go to number 3. To pass algebra, you can have no less than a 70 average for the entire school year. So to pass, your average must be 70 or above. So fill in the blanks with 3 possible values for your average, and then write an inequality. Your inequality should be A is greater than or equal to 70. As long as your numbers were 70 or above, you have correct numbers. To ride on the roller coaster Texas Cyclone, you must be taller than 40 inches. Fill in the blanks with 3 possible heights and then write an inequality. Okay, your inequality should be h is greater than 40. So as long as the numbers you put in these blanks were over 40, you are correct. Okay, there's one more kind of inequality we need to learn about, and that's a compound inequality. A compound inequality is one statement that is a combination of 2 simple inequalities. So let's look at this situation. Contestants on American Idol must be between the ages of 15 and 28. So first list 5 ages that a contestant could be. And you can list any ages as long as they are between 15 and 28. Okay, so what is the youngest you could be, and how could you describe that as an inequality? So the youngest you could be is 15, and we could write that inequality in 2 ways. We could say A is greater than or equal to 15. We could also say 15 is less than or equal to A. So what's the oldest you could be, and how could you describe that as an inequality? The oldest you could be is 28, and you could write that as A is less than or equal to 28. So now we want to combine these 2 inequalities into one inequality. So we're going to do that by putting the A in the middle, putting the smaller number on the left, and the larger number on the right. So we'll say 15 is less than or equal to A, and A is less than or equal to 28. So we basically took this inequality and this inequality and combined them into one. Okay, that's the end of today's lesson.